I didn't even know my hair was up. Good morning, you guys. Yes, I am tired. I had a busy day yesterday, but I hope you guys have had a fabulous week. So today we have a few things going on. A couple times I tried to write in the details everything, but it wouldn't let me today. So I just wanted to remind you guys of what I do use. And if it's not in my details of a video, you can look back at other videos and see the details. I usually use 100% acrylic yarn with a size H or 5.0 hook, a pair of scissors, and a yarn needle for the granny squares that we do. But starting out today, we are going to do a yarn reveal. I ordered more yarn, and next month school starts, which is going to start putting us towards the fall. And I love the fall because of how the trees change their colors and how things go. So our yarn reveal today is I had ordered some yarn. I'm trying to think who it was through. It wasn't Target. Walmart. And it was delivered. And I got a better deal for my first fall color of the season. And if I would have gone through Amazon, I would have been paying $11 a skein. Here I paid $4 something a skein. So we got, this is 100% Red Heart Super Saver 7 ounce in the color of pumpkin, which is great for making pumpkins that are hand crocheted. And this year, I will show you later on this year how to make a pumpkin. I still have to get the patty green for the leaves and the brown for the stem. Also, I'll show you how to make a pumpkin little grab bag. They are very, very cute. And I have to get black for that. So we got 1, 2, let's see here. We got 4 skeins of the pumpkin color. And each of these are 7 ounce skeins. So there's all 4 skeins of our pumpkin. So I got a good deal on that. So I was like, oh yeah, if I see a good deal on yarn, I am going to jump on it. Also, I bought another skein of white. The reason why is not only for this blanket I'm doing, but also to make a couple of granny square ghosts and maybe even another ghost spinner. And so white really comes in handy, especially for blankets. It really does. Where did I just put it? I apologize, everyone. I just had some papers underneath all the yarn. Also, something I'm talking to you about is, and this is kind of offset than what I should have had more center. I bought some graph paper. Now, if you can't see, there's little squares here in the graph. And I know my laptop's a little dirty, so I'm just going to put it right there so you can see. And I wrote on top the cancer blanket. But each of these little squares is what the granny squares are going to be. And on top, up here, I have written the colors. So for like the navy blue, it's NB. So I have drawn 4 navy blue for the center. So there's going to be 4 there. Then the next one going out is going to be white, and that is going to be 12 white granny squares. So as you see, not only am I getting the yarn that I need, but I'm making up all these granny squares because as I start designing the blanket, I'm writing it down on this graph paper. And graph paper is the best for when you're trying to design blankets, scarves, bigger things like that, because then you get the idea of what colors and how many you're going to need for that project. And so I will have to get more white because I've got another set of 20 white or 28 white. But the ombre blue that I've also been crocheting with, there's 20 on there already and white. So I have to get some more ombre blue and some more navy blue for this blanket. So those are my color choices for this blanket: navy blue, white, and the ombre blue. And the ombre blue if you don't remember, is a variegated blue. So this blue here changes. You can see it's dark, but it's got light in it. And so these here I can buy at Best Buy. I can get online at Amazon. Beautiful, beautiful colors of it. The other day, also, when I was at the hospital, I had taken my yarn with me. I always have my bag of yarn, whether I'm going to work or in between breaks, um, or if I'm going into the hospital for something, for even for my port infusion. Sitting in the waiting room can get really tiring. So the good thing about that is if you have your yarn, you can keep working. Well, the other day I made like 3 granny squares in the waiting room of a clinic the other day. And yes, I always have my drink with me. But this here and this one here, I'm basically doing the last round of my white granny square. But I'm doing a bunch of granny squares, then I'll go back and I'll sew in my ends, and then I'll put them in the piles of what I need for each one. So each one here is a shell of 3 that we're doing across the top here. So you see that shell there, 1, 2, and 3. We're going to go right back here. Whoops. I love how this does this to me. There we go. Got it. We're going to do this shell. And if you remember, and it doesn't hurt to be reminded that in between the shells here in the corners, we're going to chain 2 and then go back into the hole there to do our other shell here for shell this corner to go across the top. So it'll be later when I'm watching something that I will bring out my yarn needle to sew in the ends. I also noticed Target has some yarn that's actually pretty decent priced. So I'm looking at that. And yes, I've had fun with this yarn. Even though I've been doing it from the middle, I've had to untangle knots this week. And that is always fun. Because the yarn spinner that I have, not my wood one that I put the balls of yarn on, but my other one that I take the skeins and make balls into them, actually rusted up on me. So that is garbage now. So now I'm going to have to throw that out. I'm not happy about that yarn winder. And they're not the cheapest either. I bought it on, I am sorry, brain fart this morning. I bought it on Amazon. So, and sorry, my voice is a little raspy this morning. I had a couple of bad asthma attacks yesterday. And our weather changed from being really warm to rainy, which I'm so glad to see here in Oregon. And I pray that other places do get the rain that we need. This is very important that we get them. So, and as you see, I've got a knot here, and you just take your time, just kind of work through it. And I gotta see how it all is. There, got it. It's usually towards the end that you get the knots and have to clear out the mess. But once they're cleared out, it's pretty good to have them. Do one more chain there, cross over. We're going to go into the second there. We just flip scissors. Cut my yarn. And we're going to pull that through. See where's the holes. There's 1, 2. Try to get my fingers in these holes. Sometimes they're hard to do, but if we can. You can see there, just stretch it out a bit. And sometimes you just have to make them a little bigger just to get your fingers in. Just stretch them up and out. Just make sure that this is tight up here and make sure this is tight back here. You don't want, and especially when you go to do stitching in your back here, you want to make sure this is pretty tight, even if you go through a few holes and then you go back or you go up into one of your spots there, but always try to hide the yarn so people can't see where the yarn is hidden. So there's another white one on the list. It's done. I have my yarn everywhere today. It's all over the place here. And I was not too happy with my cat because he was wanting to get into the new yarn. So they haven't learned yet that it is not a toy. And right now, I think Alex, oh, he's overlooking out the window right now is where he's at. So don't be surprised if Alex pops his head up. Say hello to everybody. Right now, the fleas are getting bad again. So I got to order him and Sapphire new flea collars. So as usual, I'm just starting my first row, second shell, chain, do another shell. 1, 2, 3. Do another shell. 1, 2, 3. So that will give us 1, 2, 3, 4, 4 shells. Then we're going to chain 2 again. And as always, we don't go into the first stitch here. We'll go over here to the real first crochet there. So we only go over 2. Slip stitch, go in, grab up a loop, slip stitch. So we're right at the corner. We're going to take the back, tighten that up. Now, if you know how to do the ring the other way by doing 5 to 6 chains and linking your first chain to the one on your hook and doing a slip stitch, if you want to do it that way, that's perfectly fine. You can do your start your granny squares any way that's easier for you. I find it's easier for me to do the magic circle because I can do them tighter that way. So it won't be long, and we will actually start putting the yarn together to do the blanket. So maybe next week I'll have the navy blue already stitched into our first part of the blanket into it. And you can design your blanket any way you want. If you want it to look like a checkerboard, you can make it look like that. If you want to do a navy blue and then a white, the ombre blue, or whatever colors you're doing, you want to go back and forth like that, you can do that. The blanket is all about how you want to make it look. And like I was talking to one of the gals last week at outpatient nursing, and she's reminding me that, yeah, cancer patients do get very cold at times. So even lap blankets, long blankets, can really help them stay warm. And Red Heart is really good for that. With Red Heart yarn, you got to remember, you got to wash it completely different. It has to be like hand washed or wash cold. And then you have to either air dry, tumble dry low, or air dry it. So it's a lot different than just a cotton blanket that you can just toss into a washer. And I've got one here. The gal had started, it's not really big, it's about the size of a lap blanket. And she was just doing different colors. And so I'm going to probably, because she's a smoker, I'm going to throw it in the wash and dry it. And that way it smells a lot better. and I'll donate that one too to the hospitals. So, but there's other yarn she gave me that smells like smoke. So I'll make what I'm going to make with it, and then I will wash it too. Make sure it's washed very good. And I actually use Tide because I find that most people are not allergic to Tide, and it's not one that irritates my skin. So I just make sure it's done right. So we already got our second row done just in the last few minutes that we've been talking. So we're getting ready to start our third. And if you've never heard me say this before, I love starting in corners because it makes it a lot easier when you are doing granny squares. So it is a lot easier to do, especially if you are changing colors. One, two, one, two. And of course, it's all wanting to bind up again. That's fine. Just take your time. One of the things about crochet too is it does teach you patience. And last week, I think we talked a little bit about the fruits of the spirit. And one of them is patience. We have to have patience with a lot of stuff. And I love how people out here where I live, actually, a lot of times, if you only have one item and they have a bunch, a lot of times they'll just say, hey, I'm not in a rush. You've only got one or two items, just go in front of me. Or I forgot something, so go ahead and go take care of your stuff. And I do that a lot of times if I have like 5 or more things in the cart. And a lot of times I will tell people, oh, you only have 1 or 2 things, go in front of me. I'm in no hurry. And I've done that I don't know how many times. But I'm also a believer that the hope and the kindness that you put out in the world will come back to you tenfold. Will always find a way back to you. It may not come back to you in the way you've put it out, but it will come back to you. And I do believe that very much so. So we're already at this corner. I had to look to see where for sure where we were at. And it's always good sometimes when you want to make sure you know where you're at and you didn't skip something, just stop, take a look, pull it down a little bit, and you'll be able to figure it out. You know, with these videos, I'll do at least one granny square with you guys. Because pretty much during the week, you're by yourself. And so I know sometimes you're like, well, I wish I had somebody to do this with. And so that's why on my videos, I try to do at least one granny square with you. So you don't feel so alone. You feel like somebody can understand what you're doing. So, and yes, I'm pulling this apart because I'm getting towards the end of this white. I can probably make one, maybe squeeze 2 more out. And you will hear the term sometimes called yarn chicken. I know it sounds funny, but what it is usually when somebody has a certain amount of yarn and have to finish a corner or finish a stripe of a blanket, and they don't know if they're going to have enough. So they call it yarn chicken to see if you're going to have enough to finish that blanket or that granny square or whatever they're working on. So that's row 3. So we are on our last row already. So do 3 here, do our first shell. 2, 1, 2, 3, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3. Let's see. Yep, I already did the stitch come across. 1, 2, and three's coming. It's just yarn wanted to tangle. 3. So there's the first final row of this. 2, and 2. And sometimes I do count quite a bit because it just helps me stay in rhythm of what I am doing. 3, one. So headed into our third row here. 1. And when I do just have a little bit of scraps, what I do is I throw them in my scrap bag. 'Cause someday I want to make a scrap blanket, which means you never know how it's going to turn out. It's going to be all kinds of different colors and um, just you never know. Okay, stretch that out a little bit. And it's easier for me to put it on the table. Yes, I know I'm sweating. It's just warm in here today. And with the AC going, it gets really loud in here. So, and I don't want to talk louder than I absolutely have to. As it is, I talk loud anyways, and I get people telling me, "Oh, you don't need to talk that loud." And I'm like, "I'm sorry. I'm used to talking to my folks who are deaf." So, my dad's been deaf in one ear since his army days and lost hearing in the other here a few years back. So, also, heavy construction can do that. So, here's the granny square we just did together. Wow, that's actually pretty nice, huh? So, there we go. So, got our a new granny square done and all that. Just until you're ready to start putting them together, just pile them. Pile up the colors you want for your blanket, then go back, because this is what I do a lot of times. Then I'll go back, stitch in my ends. I don't always do it with every granny square right away. I'll let them stack up. Do that, and then usually when it's the same color, I will stitch it. But I'm not sure what stitch I will be using on here. If it'll be a crocheted stitch on the side. I did show a ladder stitch at one time where I went up one side through one hole and then I crossed over to another and it tied in the back basically. But you couldn't see the stitch really that was holding it together. So there's different ways of doing stitches for your granny squares. If you have a particular way you like to do your stitches, you know they hold, feel free to use any stitch that works for you. Because not all of these projects have to be the person who's teaching it their way. A lot of these ways make it easy. Some are tougher than others. It's just what you learn to do. So I hope you enjoyed the reveal today, how to use the graph paper when you're designing your stuff. Um, a lot of stuff, I'm more of a visual learner, so a lot of my videos, I'll be teaching this next year, is stuff I've learned from watching from other people. And I will tell you the websites that I got this off of, and I can direct you to their page. One is Bago de Crochet. Another that I really like is Jada and Stitches. She's a crack up. Her and her husband live up in Canada. They're up above, I want to say like Maine or up in that area. Not in Halifax, but back a little ways. So they are New York time up there. And so we just hope you have a wonderful day and a wonderful week. And we'll see you next time. Bye for now.